Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I think that I personally am a great example of, when people try to use the idea that, everyone can build really big arms off of just big exercises and you don't need any to think about arm work. And while there is a degree of truth to that, because again, most people who are really big, who have big arms, they're big everywhere, and their arms have tended to grow in proportion, and a lot of their big movements have absolutely contributed, right? And I think it's been pointed out for decades, in these topics, even by old school bodybuilders, that look, you can't expect to have an 18-inch arm if you weigh 160 pounds. I mean, it's just not realistic. In fact, it would look ridiculous. It would look ridiculous. Again, we're assuming average height or close to, guys. I'm not talking about the really, really, really short guys. Okay, and they have a valid point, and people have pointed out for many years. A lot of people do, and I have known people who don't really worry about arm work very much, who had really big arms, and they're really strong at things like pull-ups and rows and pressing. But the thing is, I mean, I know someone who is an example of that, and he was quite a bit older than me, even when I was over in the UK for a while, right? Over a decade ago training. And he was in that category. We're just a real big all-around dude. He wasn't lean either, but he was just thick. And, the thing is, and I noted that with him, he had probably 19-inch arms. And, he's like, I don't really do a lot of arm work. It's just mostly, rows and pressing. But he did occasionally do some strict curls. Like I would catch him over against a rack every now and then. He'd grab an easy curl bar and do a few sets. But, he's like, I don't even always do it every week. Now, keeping in mind, this is a guy who had 25, 30 years of training experience. And he was real strong in a lot of those pulling movements. But he's also kind of chatting with me. He's like, my arm just really kind of grew early on well for me. He's like, and I just didn't pay attention to it. And, and we can use guys like that as an example for people who genetically gifted in the arms. But then you take someone like me who isn't, right? My back grows easy, my legs grow easy, my calves grow easy, right? Those are easy for me. However, I have a big torso and I have long arms with thin arm bones, right? So just due to my bone structure, it's harder to fill them out in proportion. And I'm exactly a case like that. Like right now, my arms are 16 and a half inches. Now that's cold. I don't care about pumped. I don't know what like no one should care. Look, either your measurements are what they are when you get out of bed or they aren't. Okay, period. I don't believe in any of this. Oh, let's pump it now. Come on, you measure what you measure, right? So that's where they are. And obviously, for a guy my size, I'm 215 pounds in these videos on the morning these are filmed. Right? It's not in proportion. And I've been doing quite a bit of arm work. But it highlights the point that if you are not gifted in the arms, you're not going to be able to get away with that. Okay? And in my case, I did tons of tricep work, but it was all like a lateral head work and stuff for my benching. My long head got neglected with the exercises I did. Okay? I didn't do as much bicep work as I probably should have. A lot of what I did do was hammer curls and stuff. Long phases with no bicep work. Now I'm having to play catch up. Because again, I cared about strength. I didn't care about aesthetics, and we need to be clear with that. But as I've gotten older and done more of what I do in marketing and outreach, I've come to realize we really should care about these things, particularly when your business is fitness. People care. It will affect your outreach. Literally, losing body fat and gaining arm size has an impact on your outreach as a fitness professional and the income that you make. It really does. Okay? Because younger, more influential guys care about that. They're not as impressed with a big deadlift. They don't care they've seen me deadlift over 600 pounds raw, conventional, with no straps and stuff in my 40s. They're not as impressed. They're more impressed with an 18-inch arm. So, stuff I've been working on more, and I am working on it actively, and I'm going to continue to work on it actively. I think it's a good idea to balance things back out. But here is the example when people say, oh, it's not necessary. Are you guys sure? I mean, use me as an example. I didn't care that much about biceps for a long, long, long time. I'm really strong on rows. I have a big back. I'm pretty dang good at pull-ups and chin-ups, but I'm not really better at chin-ups than at pull-ups because, again, my back is stronger than my biceps. Okay? So I don't get the real advantage that chin-ups that guys with more bicep have. Right? Chased the big three, chased, a lot of other big movements. But it didn't give me the arm development. So now you guys see me every upper body workout, these days, doing really serious full range of motion arm work, like you're seeing in this video. This was all from one workout. It's a couple times a week I'm coming in and finishing with 5 sets of triceps, 5 sets of biceps, in addition to all my other big work, so that I get, 10 sets of direct work added in every week. Again, focusing on long ranges of motion, higher reps, doing all these things. And again, my arms have been growing. They're bigger than they were. But again, playing catch up. So when people say, oh, well, you don't need those things, are you sure? You may want to assess your genetics before you say something like that. Assess your structure, at least. I don't think it's truly, genetics so much as it is structural proportion, because a guy who has my arm size, who is with a smaller frame and everything, yeah, they're going to look big. But on me, they're not. It's not going to proportion out. So you've got to look at that and go, well, what do your proportions look like? For a guy who has a narrow clavicle, doesn't have a big rib cage, and he's got somewhat short arms to go with it, that guy may not need to do as much arm work, or he may not need to do any. He could just focus on pressing and pulling and get that torso growing, and the arms are going to stay proportionate for that guy. At least if we were looking at just muscle balance, but not by the proportion that people expect, because arm dominance has been something that's been trained into fitness culture, and it is what we come to expect. We expect a slight bias towards arms. Okay? That is what we expect and have come to accept. So if you're not proportionately gifted in that area and you want to look the way that people expect you to look, you're going to have to do arm work, guys. And you're going to have to do a lot of it if you neglect it for too long, if you want that look. And so for a lot of people, I would say, just do your arm work from day one. Because again, I've never seen a situation ever to where any man has trained and got to a point where he said, I think my arms are just too dang big. I don't think that really happens, does it? So, go ahead and do your curls, guys. It would behoove you to do so. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.